So allow us to continue where we left off in the 13th chapter, called Losing My Questions and Finding the Answer. It's a very short chapter. During my first weeks at the ashram, I spoke to almost no one other than my new guru, Swamiji, and that only every few days. I sat twice daily in his open darshans, which are times in which you can behold something divine to you, and times when anyone could walk in and meet him, and everyone did. Sweepers, shopkeepers, widows, high court justices, and wealthy industrialists from all over India and around the world came and sat on the orange carpet to receive his blessings. I sat in the back of the room, my back against the wall, listening and watching. As I could not understand his words, I noticed instead his tone, his expressions, and the rise and fall of his volume and pitch. Actually, I closed my eyes most of the time. The experience was so overwhelming that even visual input was too much. I closed my eyes and melted into the ocean of his presence, the ocean of love, listening to the ebb and flow of his pitch, the comfort, interest, and care with which he addressed each person. Every time I opened my eyes, a different person was in front of him, a different recipient of his boundless river of love and compassion. But it was all in Hindi, and I didn't understand a thing. Every once in a while, every few days that is, there was an opening before the 60 minutes was up, and Swamiji would turn to me, smile, and say, "Yes?" I was an academic, a straight A PhD student. Surely I would have an intelligent response to yes, but I never did. After the teaching about fear and faith, after unbelievably giving my pain to the river, I found my mind empty each time the opportunity to ask a question arose. Like a cookie jar from which even the crumbs had been emptied, there was nothing to grab hold of, no vestige of my former inquisitiveness. Asking and answering questions had always come easily to me. Being the only child of highly verbal parents, combined with an education that prepared me to go forth into the world proud to have a question, unshamed to raise my hand and ask it, entitled to show up unannounced to a professor's door to see if she had an extra minute to explain something. I was a question asker. At 8 o'clock in the morning, in 200-seat lecture halls, I'd be the one in the front row raising my hand. "Excuse me, I didn't understand the last point. Can you clarify it?" And my teachers were astonished someone was actually paying attention. That was not the same woman as the one who could only stare blankly at Swamiji's "Yes?" Not to have a question was okay, but not to have anything to say, not even a comment, an elaboration, a request for clarification? Where had this woman come from, and where had all her brains gone? Well, it turns out that she ended up getting an MRI scan, and on the left side of her brain, there was nothing right. And on the right side, there was nothing left. I'm just kidding, it doesn't say that. When not in his presence, I could think of perfectly intelligent things to say, valid questions to ask. Thank God, I told myself, at least the next time he asks, I'll have something to say, and he won't think I'm a brainless idiot. But the next time he looked in my eyes and asked, "Yes?" My mind became clear and smooth once more, with nary a ripple of movement nor a waveform of question or comment. No wrinkles. Completely smooth. I was simply non-verbal. It was all I could do to produce a small smile on my lips. He must think I'm a fool. After repeatedly staring blankly in response to his inquiry, I decided to make a list of spiritual, cultural, and personal questions I might ask so I'd have something to say the next time I heard yes. And so I folded the list into the small purse that held my room keys and a few rupees. That afternoon, Darshan was filled with a small group who wanted just to receive his blessings on their return from the sacred temples of Badrinath and Kedarnath. 30 or 40 of them bowed and left together. Swamiji finished well before 5:30 p.m. I sat, my back against the wall, eyes closed, then I heard the word yes. I opened my eyes to realize the room was empty except for the two of us. I jumped to my feet and hurried to the front of the room to offer my pranam, kind of prostration, to bow at his feet. Yes, Swamiji repeated with a smile. Tell me. I had my cloth purse on a thin string across my chest, and I excitedly unzipped it to pull out my list of questions. The paper was gone. My keys were there. 50 rupees were there. My chapstick was there. There was nothing else in the purse. Like a frantic woman in an old comedy routine, I turned my purse upside down and shook it on the floor. Nothing. There were no pockets, secret compartments, or holes through which it could have fallen out. I felt my face flush, and I looked up at Swamiji, who smiled at me with a mix of compassionate love and obvious amusement. I had a list, I stammered, but it's not here. He said nothing and kept smiling. I'll be right back. I must have lost it along the way. Do I have time to quickly run to my room? He nodded, and I jumped up, ran out the door, and scanned every square foot of the path back to my room as quickly as I could. My list was not on the road. I flung open the doors to my room. Maybe I hadn't put it in my purse after all. Although I vividly remembered folding it and putting it inside, maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe it was still on the end table where I wrote it. Nope. Only my alarm clock, journal, and pen. I pulled the sheet and blanket off my bed and the pillowcase off my pillow. It must have fallen between my sheet and blanket, or in my pillow. Fortunately, no one was there to ask. And exactly how would your list have fallen into your pillowcase? I scoured every corner and surface of my tiny bare room, and, acutely aware of the ticking clock, I walked back to where he sat on the beautiful golden saffron pillow, waiting for me to return. I bowed again with legs folded behind me. My eyes lowered to the ground, waiting for him to come out of meditation. After a few minutes, he opened his eyes and looked up at me. Before I could explain that my list had disappeared, he smiled and said, yes. This time, however, it was a statement, not a question. He did not follow it with, tell me. Just, yes. Yes. Yes, I had made a list. Yes, the universe had snatched it from my hands and caused it to dissolve back into the elements from which the paper had been made. Yes, I thought I was going crazy, and yes, I was not. Most important, yes, here we are, here, now, in this breath, in this intersection of time and space, in a time and a space that are infinite. Right here, right now. There are no questions. There is only stillness. The stillness was the answer to my questions. He had already answered them. Thank you for listening. We'll pause our reading of Hollywood to Himalayas there for now. That is the end of the 13th chapter.